Good afternoon, everybody. It's Andrew Smith from Royal LePage, Kelowna. Welcome to Coffee with Andy from Sprout Bread. We were here 2 weeks ago, and we're here again. This is clearly one of our favorite places. We love the patio. We love all the dogs. There's dogs behind Kira. We love. Anyway, it's just a nice spot. This is one of our favorites. It's one of these coffee shops that have made the transition from, I think, primarily catering to the tourists and the out-of-towners to kind of grabbing onto the downtown urban market. The people who work here, the people who live in the 2,000 condominiums within a kilometer of me right now. So it's just a nice little vibe. People hang out here all day. The coffee's pretty good. It's not too expensive, and you certainly get to see regulars. Reason you're here, real estate market. December's are typically one of the worst months in real estate for obvious reasons. It's hard to come here. The Rogers Pass and avalanches, and people just won't drive the Coquihalla in the wintertime. They're scared of it. Although it's been a really mild winter. It's just not a strong real estate market in December. And this past December was no exception. Excuse me. We had 84 sales compared to 96 December of 2022. So it's 12. It's a drop in the bucket. It's not that big of a deal, I suppose. 96 down to 84, but it's a continuing trend of fewer sales month over month, 2023 compared to 2022. That's got to stop. The year that was 2023 saw us record 2,034 residential real estate sales, 2,034, compared to the year before when we recorded 2,418 real estate sales. So, it's almost 400 less. That's a 16% drop in unit sales. It seems kind of worse. It seemed like it was worse than that, only because the last half of the year it dropped off precipitously. But nevertheless, when the year's done and we wrap it all up, it's a 16% drop in unit sales. That absolutely can't continue, and it likely won't. The city's just too big. There's just too many people that want to move here. It's still a blue chip city. Buyers and sellers just have to come to a meeting of the minds as to what prices where houses are going to sell. People see a $1.2 million house, and a buyer will look at it and say this is only worth 1.05, and it's hard to get them to both agree to 1.1 because the buyer thinks it's too high, the seller thinks it's too low. So people just sit back and wait, and consequently you just don't have as many houses as many houses moving as we'd like. As far as prices go, 2022 it was $1,200,000, which was the average sale price, and that dropped to $1,118,000. So it's about a 7% drop in the average sale price. That's about expected. That kind of seems right. 2022 was a really strong year, and sure, we lost equity, and it is a really big deal for the people who bought at the height of the market and have to sell now, obviously. But for the most part, if anyone's been in the market for any length of time, if you've been in it 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, it's a loss on paper, and it's not that big of a deal. If it continues, for sure, nobody likes to sell for less than what their neighbors sold for, or less than what their assessed value is, or less than what they think it's worth. But nevertheless, people just come to the realization that, hey, my house isn't worth 1.2, it's worth 1.1. It just unfortunately takes longer than you'd like. The two negatives that we had last year were, we'll start with forest fires. I hope we get a respite from that this year. 2024 can't be as bad as 2023. Oh, it could be. Doesn't seem to be a lot of snow happening this winter, but it was a really tough year for forest fires this year, which hammers your real estate market. It's a stick in the bicycle spokes. It just stops it. The insurance industry just ends things. Like, there's no sales happening for anyone who needs a mortgage, and if you're in a zone where you're within 50 kilometers or 75 kilometers or whatever the insurance company's number is, proximity of an active forest fire, it just stops. So you have to wait for the fires to be put out and the insurance company to give the green light. We had a bad year there. Hopefully that's not going to be an every year thing. We certainly have no control over that, but I just can't imagine it being as bad as it was in 2023. And the second thing is interest rates. Your guess is as good as mine. If they have really and truly stabilized, Bank of Canada meets and you hold your breath and they don't change, and then they don't change, and they don't change. You see what the Fed does, where it drops, so you think ours should drop, and it doesn't, it just stays the same. At some point, it's going to go down, and it's going to make it easier for first-time buyers to get back into the market. It's going to be easier with people with lines of credit. It's going to be easier people who have the variable mortgages or fixed rate mortgages that are coming up for renewal. At some point, that's going to get better. Hopefully sooner rather than later. But right now, yeah, we're just I guess you can call it a soft landing. It's not as bad as a lot of people predicted, but here we are in January 2024, alive and kicking. Thank you for watching. Andy Smith, Royal LePage Kelowna.